Dovie Blanche DEAN, born on February 25, 1898. Hawkins Dean married Dovie Myers on April 13, 1952. He was a farmer who owned a 115-acre farm located on Belfast-Owensville Road, less than 2 miles north of Owensville. At the time of their marriage, she lived on Titus Road, just south of Hawk Dean's farm. The marriage to her previous husband, who was in jail, had ended the previous day. She was Dean's second wife. He was her third husband. The honeymoon was apparently over by August 1952, as Dovie gave Hawkins arsenic on 4 occasions, putting Zip's rat poison in his milk. Once when Hawkins came down with severe stomach pains, she called the ambulance that took him to the hospital. This, she claimed, showed that she did not kill her husband. When he died, medical examiners found unmistakable signs of arsenic poisoning. Upon questioning, Dovie blamed her son by a previous marriage. The young man became hysterical when told his mother had accused him of the crime. Her interrogators, convinced of her son's innocence, pressed her further. She said that she did give him arsenic, but only as a headache remedy. Later, she claimed she had tried to poison her husband, but only after he threatened to kill her. Dovie Blanche DEAN was arrested on September 12, 1952. Throughout, she exhibited no emotion, so much so, she was sent to Lima for a psychiatric examination. Doctors there noted that Mrs. Dean doesn't feel because she can't. She basically have no remorse. She became known in the papers as the Ice Queen, because she was cold as ice during this ordeal. Dovie became a 9-day wonder when she was arrested in 1952 after her husband of 5 months, Hawkins Dean, died from ingesting arsenic. "I got him before he got me," Dovie told Claremont County Sheriff Clyde B. Derricks. "He threatened to take both his life and mine." Blanche Dovie Dean finally confessed to poisoning her 69-year-old husband, Hawkins Dean, by putting rat poison in his milk. She tried to frame her son by a previous marriage, but eventually confessed when the sheriff commented that any woman who could accuse her son of such a crime could easily have done it herself. She said the killing took place after several violent arguments when she found her new husband could not perform his husbandly duties. Dovie said, "He wanted a housekeeper and I wanted a home." Prosecutors had a more simplistic view of Hawkins's death. Dean signed his death warrant when he named her in his will, a 69-year-old farmer. Hawkins changed his will shortly after he married Dovie, making her the sole beneficiary of his $27,000 estate. During August 1952, Dovie gave Hawkins arsenic on 4 occasions, dumping the powder in his milk. Once, when Hawkins came down with severe stomach pains, she called the ambulance that took him to the hospital. This, she claimed, showed that she did not kill her husband. She admitted giving him some powder, but said it was at his request for a headache. By August 22, 1952, Hawkins was dead. An autopsy revealed the obvious signs of arsenic poisoning and Dovie was brought in for questioning. Her trial was brief. The jury took just 40 minutes to find her guilty. During her brief trial, Dovie sat stony still and obdurate, telling friends that "I cannot cry." Her only argument in defense was that she confessed to shield her son from an earlier marriage who actually committed the crime. Her emotionless exterior nearly broke when the verdict came, and she tensed briefly before leaning back in her chair. When she was escorted from the courtroom, her icy demeanor contrasted with the cries of anguish from her family. Under Ohio law, the judge was required to sentence her to death. Dovie's last meal consisted of roast chicken, potatoes, asparagus, green salad with French dressing, coconut cream pie, angel food cake, and coffee. Dovie Dean, age 55, went to Ohio's electric chair on January 15, 1954, at 8 midnight wearing a simple green dress buttoned down the front, white anklets and brown shoes. She was pronounced dead 7 minutes later. Precisely at 8 p.m., the warden ordered that the switch be pulled. More than 1,900 volts coursed through her body, and at 8:07 p.m., Dovie Dean was dead. The relaxed attitude of the 55-year-old grandmother from Batavia, Ohio, only contributed to the surreal atmosphere in the death house at the old Ohio State Prison in Columbus. Dovie Dean sat quietly in the room, sipping coffee. Hands clasped on her lap, she declined a plate of cookies passed to her by her guest, the Rev. C.W. Wilshire. "I'll eat a couple later," she said, a little smile on her lips. After all, this wasn't a tea party or a pleasant afternoon visit from the local pastor. Dovie was waiting to take the short walk to the electric chair as punishment for killing her husband with rat poison. According to those who had witnessed executions before, they had never seen a condemned prisoner meet final fate more placidly. On January 15, 1954, she sat with her spiritual advisor in the anteroom outside the death chamber, drinking coffee and taking a pass on the cookies. Shortly before it came time to move into the execution room, the top of her head was shaved to allow for better contact with the electrode, and as a last request she asked that someone sing "What a Friend We Have in Jesus." Oddly, perhaps because none of the persons present was confident in his singing voice, her request was denied. The Rev. C.W. Wilshire read the hymn to her. Dovie sat down in the electric chair. Her chapped red hands gripped the armrest tightly and she made her final statement. "When I got on the witness stands they made light of me because I couldn't cry," she said. "Years ago, I couldn't have faced all of those people, but I asked God to help me. I had grief inside like knives." Dovie became the second woman to be sentenced to die in the electric chair. The first was Anna Marie Hahn, another poisoner. Hahn died screaming in terror, pleading for her life. Dovie Dean was an ice queen to the end. Thank you for watching Dead Row.